What's up, traders? This is Matt with Conservative Trades coming at you with another episode in the Paper Trade Diaries. Today, I've been browsing the market all morning. Well, not all morning, but I would say here for the last 20 minutes or so. It's about 9:46, and I've stumbled across a few different stocks that seem like, there's a few different stories going on here. One stock that I'm looking at right now is CCIV. Now, there's no particular news that I can really find on this. Anything more recently, I could be off about this. There could be something I'm missing, but what I am noticing is that there may be a rejection of trend right here. So I'm going to go ahead, and this could be a real quick in and out, but I'm going to go ahead and take, let's see, we're at 33.95. I'll say right at 34. If we can get another pop up there, I'll go short 1,000 shares at 34, and I'll get out if it breaks 34.50. So and it looks like it's kind of leaving me behind here. But anyway, here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a few things. First of all, back here, I saw a very similar thing. It kind of ramped up, but it had this trend line rejection and then dumped pretty far down. So I would be hoping for it to do the same thing. Come on. Let's see what it's looking like on the 1 minute chart. So, okay, we might get that fill at 34 here. I'm hoping that we do. If we don't, I'll go ahead and just jump in maybe half my share size, 500 shares. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in 500 shares at 33.90, we'll say. Let's see. So it ramped up to 34, but let me go ahead and just say 90 is where I took it. And there it goes. It got slammed back down. So, I try to be as, or carry as high a level of integrity as I can when paper trading. As you could see, I put an order up here. I was waiting for it to eat up that 1,000 shares at 34. It didn't do it. So I said, all right, I'm going to take it at 90. And so you got to stick to that. So right now I am in let's see, we took 500 shares short at 33.90, and I'm looking for a trend line rejection here. So, again, this is one of those ones. I mean, I'm not gonna sit on it too long. I mean, as long as it does reject this trend line and continue to make its way down, I'm going to try to hold on to it for a pretty good fall. I would like to. I mean, here at 34, I was trying to get 1,000 shares because I was really going to try to hold on to it for, just maybe down to this level here, just because we've got a lot of previous areas of support right there. As you can see, that would have been about, maybe $1,500 on those 1,000 shares. But now I'm dealing with 500 shares. And so, it would be interesting to see if, just like back here, this trend line rejection back here, I'll go ahead and draw it out for you. Just like back here, it kind of, just kind of zoom in here, you can see it fell all the way down here. It got about a good, let's see, where was that point? 26.52 all the way down to 22.36. So like a $4 move. Obviously recovered a little, but then ended up coming all the way down. So it got about a $7 move right there. So it would be interesting to see if we could get that same kind of a move on this today. If not, I'll get out. If it obviously comes back up and breaks trend, my stop out point is going to be the break of 34.24. So I think if it breaks 34.24, and you know what, just to even give it a little more room to run, I'll give it all the way up to 34.51, because sometimes it can snap up through these trend lines and then end up falling, all the way back down. And so I'll give it a second. I'll give it some space. I'll give it some space to run. Let's see, 500 shares, 33.90. That would be about a $300 loss at that point. So I'm essentially at this point, I'm risking $300 to potentially make. I stand to gain 1,000. So okay, a little better than a 3-to-1 profit loss ratio. So I'm good with that. Now, right now, it looks like it's recovering. And so in this type of situation, if it does, let's say it does kind of do a fake out breakout over that trend line and it starts pummeling back down, I might even add to my position. I may double down on my position. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. But let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens here. Now we are on the 1 minute. We're on the 1 minute time frame. Let's go ahead and skip over to the 5 minute time frame. Let's see. So this is almost kind of like a gravestone doji here. Be interesting to see if it recovers. Okay, 34.36. There it goes. Oops. 42. Is it going to do it? Is it going to... I always like to set it a little above. You see I've got it at 34.51 because sometimes, that $0.50 mark tries to creep its way up there, but it can't, and it ends up falling through. So like I said, I am completely willing to double down on my position if this looks like it's going to fail this trend line breakout here. Let's see where it opens on the 1 minute. Okay, so it opened above the trend line, so it's got a pretty good chance now of, going up. So let's see, it tapped 31.50 just below. It tapped 31.50 and had a complete sell-off. I don't know if I can zoom in anymore. But yeah, it did not quite get up to, it almost looks like it, but if you can, I don't know, on your screens, like zoom in on your screens, you can see there's a slight space here. I've got it right over, again, 30, I've got it at 31.51 and it tapped at 34.51 and it tapped at 34.50. So you can see that's why I put my stop up there. So anyway, so this is interesting. Okay, it lost the trend line. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to, if it pops up to 34, there it is. I'm taking another 500 shares at 34. So now I've got a total of 1,000 shares short at, let's see, 1,000 shares short. I took the first at 33.90, the second at 34. So that brings me to a 33.95 average. Okay. So this is good. So I'm still going to keep my stop here at 34.51. So now I stand to lose $500, maybe a little better with slippage, but I stand to lose $500 if this ramps back up. But I am going to wait at least for, if this gets down to, let's see, these levels here, where was it? 32.50. Yeah. If it gets down to 32.50, I'll probably take the first 500 and then I'll see if that other 500 can carry down, at least to the $30 level. So otherwise, if it comes back up here, then I'll simply get out where I've got my stop set. So we'll see what happens. I'll check back in. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video right now, just so we don't have to sit through all this price action as it plays out. And we'll check back in with you when it either takes me out at my stop or starts resolving to the downside. Okay, guys, checking back in. There's a few things going on here. So you can see we kind of broke up through this trend line again here. And it's almost like we're forming another little trend line pattern here. So it may be the case, we see here on the 5 minute, these candles are riding, they're riding that EMA. Now we were forming higher lows here on these 3 candles and we almost formed one here, but this was the first candle to make a lower low. So I think if this candle can come down and break through that 9 EMA, we can start making that move down here where I can take my first 500 shares off at 32.50. Now, because this would be considered extremely bullish by breaking back out through that trend line after forming a lower low and doing so on strong enough buy volume. I would think that if it comes over 34, this 34.27, 34.28, I'd probably want to get out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lower my stop. I've got 1,000 shares at 33.95. I'm going to lower my stop to 34.31. So if it comes up to 34.31, I'm going to probably go ahead and want to get out there. And that will give me, probably with a little bit of slippage, that's, it's going to end up being like a, I guess we'll say if it slips up to 34.35, that will just make that a 40-cent loss on 1,000 shares. So right now I'm risking about $400, but you can see that it could be resolving to the downside right now. And so I've got an order to take the first 500 shares here at 32.50, and I picked up those first 500 shares, if you remember, at or I shorted them at 33.90. So that'll actually give me about, as a matter of fact, let's make it an even 750. I'll bring it down to 32.40. I'm going to bring it down to 32.40 as my first take profit, just because that's going to be $1.50 on those first 500 shares. And I think that's $750. That's let's see, $1.50 times 500 equals, yeah, $750 on those first 500 shares if it can make it down there. Now, if it looks like it's maybe going to turn back around from this point, then I may just take them off at 32.90. Let's go down to the 1 minute. I hate this is kind of this starting to take a little of my attention off of these other. There's some other stocks over here, TYME and SINO, that I really would like to look at SINO, and there's a big reason for that, and hopefully we'll get to that. But let's just see what this does on the 1 minute here, and because yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, there's several things happening right now. First of all, I tell you guys all the time, I like to check the longer time frames. I mean, look here on the 15 minute. The 15 minute just broke the previous 15 minute low. It broke the 9 EMA. It would be very interesting to see if this could close out below that 9 EMA, and then I definitely think we could get a test all the way down at least to 3150, and maybe that's where I'll take the last 500 shares. But yeah, this is creeping back up here. I don't like that. May just tap and then continue moving south. I'll give it a minute to see. We'll give it a minute to work itself out. Like I said, I'm still pretty sure that no matter what happens here, I could probably still get out that 500 shares at 32.90. It would be an even $500 on those first 500 shares. But let's see how this chooses to work itself out here. I may just get out the whole 1,000 shares if it really ramps up from here, because this should be tanking. Let's look at the 3 minute. Yeah, I really don't like this pattern. There's a lot of uncertainty here. I really want to see it. It's got to break down. It's got to break down from here. So that if it breaks through the previous 5 minute candle high, reclaiming that 9 EMA, I'm going to go ahead and get out all 1,000 shares at 33.38. Let's say with slippage, it's 33.45, and we'll just do an even 50 cents on those 1,000 shares. That'll be an even 500. So right now I've got a stop there. So I'm going to remove this stop right here. This is my new stop, but it's going to be on all 1,000 shares. Just because, I'm looking at several things. Again, I'm watching volume. Sell volume's dying off. This could be a place where, it all of a sudden starts reclaiming, these moving averages and pumping up. And if that's the case, I'd rather just take 500 on the day. I would consider that pretty good. Okay, and CCIV is totally reclaiming that moving average. And so it took me out. We're going to say here with slippage, I had the order set at 33.38. Let's say that we got out all shares at, let's say with slippage, it got me at 33.45. So that puts me up roughly 500 on the day. So we are currently up 500 on the day. So obviously this could still get that trend line rejection, and it could still do what we were talking about earlier. What I saw it do here, it could still get a good crushing move to the downside. We'll see. I mean, look at this. It already opened up way down here. Looks like it's failing. So this could just be a whippy stock today, but I'm fine with it. It was a very, very low risk trade. I mean, still yet, I was originally risking about 500. So, essentially right now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, you risked 500 to make 500. That doesn't seem very good, right? And you know what? It's not, but that's not what the original risk was. And oftentimes you guys hear me talking about how the story can change on this stuff. The story changes, right? And you have to be willing to, you can't stay so rigid to your rules. I can't sit here and say stubbornly, no, I promised myself a 4-to-1 or a 2-to-1 profit loss ratio. If the story is changing, if the technicals are showing you something potentially a lot different, and there's no reason for me to, stay stubborn on taking that $400 or $500 loss when I know that right now I can go ahead and take $500 and I don't have to worry about that happening. Now, is it still below the trend line? Yes. Would more patient traders have waited this out? Yes. But this is where we have to remember I'm paper trading, and I have to trade with the same emotions and the same discipline or lack thereof that I would if I was live trading, right? I have to be true to myself here. We've got to keep the integrity going here, and I've held that line of integrity this entire time. You've watched me, take this entire trade. You've watched my reasoning. You've heard me talk through these things. You've seen me set my stops and lower my stops, and then set new stops and stick to those stops. Okay, and so that's what I did. So I have to own it. I've got to stick to it. So this is one of those days where I would have to apologize for not completely sticking to to the plan. But again, I played it safe. I still got out with, $500 win. I'm fine with that. For 30 minutes in the market, maybe we'll say an hour total, with the research and all the charting that I did this morning, looking for particular stocks to trade. We'll say an hour. So $500 for an hour of work, I'll take it. I'll take it. And furthermore, I'm up now. I was up 4,800 on the week as of yesterday. So today, this puts me up 5,300 on the week with these 500 the $500 I made today. So, and hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Paper Trade Diaries. Feel free to leave me a comment. Feel free to ask any questions you may have. And yeah, I'll see you here maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, whenever I can get another one in. All right, guys.